The fourth round didn't come with a red carpet, but it came with a message. San Francisco walked out of it attacking a real need. Ephesians Prysock, the Washington cornerback, pick 139. Size, burst, and a real starting background for a secondary that needs competition on every single snap. And that's only the start. We've got a hungry edge rusher, an interior defender with late-round steal potential, and a running back meant to help protect Christian McCaffrey. Hit subscribe because today we're talking roster decisions that feel like the future in Santa Clara. And what really grabs me about the Prysock pick is not just the number, it's the kind of bet this is. Because when you take a corner in the fourth round, a lot of people treat it like a depth move. Like it's just another camp body, maybe special teams, maybe a backup. But when you look at his profile, you start to understand why San Francisco can't look at this too small. The guy played 4 seasons between Arizona and Washington. He appeared in 49 games. He started 42 of them. He finished with 170 tackles, 20 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. That is not the resume of a player who disappeared in college. That's volume. That's real experience. That's a defensive back who has seen routes break in front of him, taken hits, adjusted inside games, and lived through quarterbacks trying to test his side week after week. And this is where it connects directly to what the Niners need: competition in the secondary. You can't build a defense that wants to bite again if your corners can't live on the edge. The modern NFL does not forgive you. Offenses spread the field, they force isolation, they attack deep, they use RPOs, they change tempo, and every single time they ask your defensive backs one question: can you survive without constant help? Prysock brings size. He brings 4.45 speed in the 40. He brings a 39-inch vertical. Those numbers don't win snaps by themselves, of course, but they show the raw material. They show burst at the catch point, recovery speed when a receiver gets half a step, and enough physical tools to walk into that cornerback room knowing he can compete. His final season at Washington matters too. In 2025, he had 48 tackles, 7 passes defended, earned honorable mention All Big Ten, and helped the Huskies reach the college football playoff semifinals. That matters because San Francisco is not looking for a player who gets blinded by a big stage. They're looking for somebody who has lived in big games, big environments, and real pressure. And I like the logic here. This isn't a pick made to sell jerseys the next morning. This is a pick made to raise the level of the internal fight. If Prysock learns fast, if he understands the discipline of coverage, if he turns those tools into consistent technique, he can become way more than a nice fourth-round flyer. He can become that quiet player who earns a few specific snaps, builds confidence, and suddenly forces the coaching staff to rethink the room. And to me, that's the emotional point of the pick. The 49ers cannot live only on established names. Championship teams are also built in the details, in the picks that look small at first, in the players who walk into the building starving to prove the league got it wrong. Prysock has that stage now. Some picks make sense because of the depth chart. Others hit different when the player speaks for the first time. Romello Height arrived like that. San Francisco used the third-round pick it got in the trade down to land a 25-year-old defensive end with a long road behind him. Auburn, USC, Georgia Tech, Texas Tech. A lot of miles, a lot of movement. A lot of chances for a career to get lost somewhere along the way. But the final production shows a player who kept pushing forward. 105 tackles in 48 games, 25.5 tackles for loss, 15.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. And then came the quote that changed the whole feeling. Height told 95.7 The Game that he had a dream. It wasn't exactly the Niners, but it was the Niners' colors. He also said he had been feeling all week that it would be either San Francisco or Indianapolis, and he thanked God it ended up being the 49ers. Look, you don't have to turn that into something mystical to feel the weight of the moment. Sometimes, for a player who has gone through injury, transfers, waiting, and frustration, landing in the right place really can feel like an answer. And when he says he expected to go a little earlier, but trusted that God would take him where he needed to be, you hear a guy trying to turn a slide into fuel. But now comes the part that matters on the field. This can't just be a feel-good story. The 49ers defensive line needed more bodies, more rotation, more players who can come in and keep the pass rush from disappearing when the starters need a breather. Last season exposed that wound. When the front loses consistency, the rest of the defense starts paying the price. Corners have to cover longer. Safeties arrive late. Opposing quarterbacks get way too comfortable. And for a team that still sees itself as a serious NFC contender, that kind of hole is not a detail. That is a January problem. Height hit his peak in 2025 at Texas Tech, with 32 tackles, 10 sacks, and 10 tackles for loss. That's what makes this pick interesting. This is not just an athlete trying to survive off the name of a school. This is an edge rusher coming off the best year of his career, talking like someone who wants to belong, and walking into a franchise with a brutal reference point for any pass rusher. Nick Bosa. Now, nobody should put the ridiculous job of fixing everything on Height's shoulders. But as a rotational piece, as fresh energy, as someone who can attack specific snaps and grow inside the system, I like this idea a whole lot more. And his line about winning Super Bowls with the 49ers? That hits different. Because this fan base doesn't just want polite rookies talking about learning the playbook. This fan base wants players who understand the weight of the jersey, the urgency of the window, and the responsibility of walking in thinking big. Height arrived talking like he believes. Now he has to play like he deserves to stay. Now, if there is one thing 49ers fans have learned to respect, it's hidden value on day 3 of the draft. That's not superstition, that's recent memory. Brock Purdy became the wildest example, going from the final pick in 2022 to leading a massive franchise. George Kittle, Dre Greenlaw, Diamador Lenore, and others helped create that feeling too. When San Francisco hits late, it doesn't just find backups, it finds players who change Sundays. So when Gracen Halton comes out of Oklahoma at pick 107 in the 4th round, I can't just shrug at it. Halton walks into a position where the path is not easy. He has veterans ahead of him, including Alfred Collins and Osa Odigizua, and nobody serious should expect him to kick the door down and take over the main rotation in month 1. There is a process. There is adjustment. There is NFL strength that does not look the same as college strength. There are also technical questions like shorter arms for the position and concerns about leverage when he has to shed blocks. That's part of the package, but the package does not end there. And that is exactly why this pick has life. The Bleacher Report scouting report points to traits that fit what the 49ers love to try to develop on the defensive line. Good overall quickness, athleticism for a defensive tackle, agility to work on stunts and line games, efficient paths to the quarterback, a swim move already in his toolbox, a motor that can turn pressure into cleanup sacks, plus upper body strength and pop in his hands when he uses them well against the run. In fan language, there is something to work with. There is movement, there is energy, there are heavy hands, there is a player who can be used in specific situations and gain confidence without having to carry the whole house on his back. And that matters because the Niners defense does not need only stars shining at the top. It needs depth that actually works. It needs interior defenders who can keep the pocket dirty, stop quarterbacks from stepping up comfortably, hold the point of attack in the run game, and give the coaching staff real options to vary pressure. Sometimes the difference between a good defense and a suffocating defense is the 4th, 5th, or 6th defensive lineman, the guy who comes in when everyone expects the energy to drop and gives you an explosive snap. Halton can try to become exactly that kind of name. The beauty of this bet is the balance. You don't have to overdo it. You don't have to call him a historic steal on day 1. But you also can't pretend this is just another random chip on the board. San Francisco has the track record. It has the environment. It has coaches who can teach details. And Halton has traits that ask for development. If he listens, fixes the leverage, learns how to make better use of the length he does have, and turns effort into consistency, watch out. Because once again, the Niners may have found a late-round player who starts as a small conversation and ends up becoming a big problem for opposing offenses. And now comes a pick that a lot of people might roll their eyes at right away, but it makes way more sense when you actually look at it. Kaelon Black. Running back did not feel like the most obvious fire on the roster. I get that reaction. When fans see holes at other positions, the first question is natural. Why spend a pick here? But the answer is tied to the name that changes everything in this offense. Christian McCaffrey. If San Francisco learned anything from the weight of a long season, it's that you cannot treat your best offensive player like he is unlimited. McCaffrey is special, but special does not mean indestructible. And when the team itself has acknowledged that his workload from last season should not be repeated, taking a running back stops looking like a luxury and starts looking like responsibility. The 49ers are not saying they're taking the offense out of his hands. They're trying to make sure the entire season does not depend on every single touch from him like it's an emergency. Fresh legs matter in January. Depth matters in December. In tough games, when every yard gets expensive, another reliable runner can be the difference between keeping rhythm and burning out your own engine. Black arrives as a depth option, but with traits that connect to what Kyle Shanahan likes. He said himself that he is comfortable with the style because he ran a lot of outside zone at Indiana and also back at James Madison. That line is not small. To play in this offense, you can't just take the ball and go hunting for a hole. There is vision, patience, cut timing, discipline with the blocking, acceleration at the right moment. If a player already feels natural in that kind of concept, the adjustment has a better starting point. The production also shows growth. After more modest early seasons, he rushed for 637 yards in 2023, and then peaked in 2025 with 1,040 yards and 10 touchdowns. That speaks to development, volume, and efficiency across a bigger role. And the detail I might like most is not even just the running. Nick Bosa of WIUX Sports pointed out that Black was extremely reliable in short yardage situations and also strong in pass protection, helping keep Fernando Mendoza clean. For Shanahan, that matters a lot. A running back who can't protect the quarterback can become decoration on the sideline. A running back who can block, win tough yards, and understand outside zone starts digging out a role. Now, of course, there's a fight here. Jordan James is in the picture. Patrick Taylor Jr. could lose space. Isaac Guerendo could have his future reevaluated. And Black does not arrive with anything guaranteed. But that's what contenders do. They create competition before panic shows up. So tell me in the comments, faithful, did you like the Kaelon Black pick as protection for McCaffrey? Or do you think San Francisco should have used that pick on another position? Because to me, this decision is not about replacing the star. It's about making sure the star is still whole when the season starts asking for everything. At the end of the day, this draft shows one thing pretty clearly. San Francisco is not just picking names, it is picking answers. Prysock comes in to raise the fight in the secondary. Height arrives with a story, hunger, and a real chance to help a pass rush that needed bodies. Halton brings that late-round flavor this franchise has turned into gold before. And Black represents smart protection for McCaffrey, not a lack of ambition. It may not be the loudest package for people who only want headlines, but it is a package built with logic for a team that knows January demands depth. If you're real Niners, hit the like, subscribe, and stay right here, because Santa Clara is still building this battle.